Well, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see you and to have you here with us tonight. At this time, I would like to call our 76th annual meeting to order, and I'd like to call up Rodney Chandler to give the report on our quorum.
Mr. Chairman, the official notice of this meeting was contained in the August issue of Jimco News and was mailed to 174,703 member customers on August the 12th, 2015. Proof of mailing has been signed by the appropriate authorities and will be included as a part of the minutes of these meetings. Our registrars have informed me that 1,186 member customers have been officially registered to participate in this meeting tonight. This number, Mr. Chairman, exceeds the quorum to conduct official business of the cooperative. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dick Tysinger. I'm called upon. I'm a lawyer from over in Carrollton, Georgia, that with the local council does some work for Jackson EMC, and have the pleasure of presiding over the business section each year. So it's good to see all of you folks again. As Otis just said, this is the business session has been convened, and there will be 2 or 3 things that we need to take care of tonight. The first of which is action on the minutes from last year. Those minutes are on file in the cooperative office here. They are there for the looking at. For those of you here last year, you can remember what happened. So I think it would be in order to approve the minutes that's on file in the corporate offices and waive the reading of the minutes at this time. Is there a motion that we waive the reading of the minutes at this time and have them approved as on file in the cooperative office? Do I have a motion to that effect? Got a motion? Is there a second? I see a couple of seconds. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. It is important to hear, for the members to hear about the financial condition of their cooperative, Jackson EMC, and for that purpose, I call upon our independent auditor, Randy Nichols. Randy, would you come up and give that report?
Thank you, Dick. And thank you for, again, allowing me to review the financial report of your cooperative with you. The September 2015 issue of the Jimco News contained financial statements of your cooperative, and what I plan to do now is just summarize those statements. Your cooperative has assets totaling approximately $931 million compared to $861 million last year. This is an increase of $70 million in assets. The majority of these assets represent utility plant. Utility plant is the poles, the wire, transformers, and other equipment used to get electricity to your homes. In addition to that, there was an increase of $42 million in operating assets. These assets are paid for by you, the member, when you pay your bill each month. A portion of that is capital for the cooperative. The remainder goes to pay expenses. You also borrow money from the Rural Utilities Service, the Federal Financing Bank, and the National Rural Cooperative Finance Corporation. Presently, you have capital totaling $366 million. This compares to $341 million last year. During the past year, your cooperative had operating revenues of $515 million and expenses net of other revenue of $484 million. So that provided $31 million of capital in order to comply with the requirements of your bank and so that you could remain financially sound. Your cooperative returned $6.2 million of capital back to the members during the past year and still has a solid financial position. Thank you.
Well, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of your board of directors who are seated behind me, I'd like to welcome you again to the Jackson EMC's 76th annual meeting. I hope you've enjoyed your evening. Everyone's had a chance to eat their chicken dinner and visit the health fair. So let's get down to business and talk a little bit about what your cooperative has achieved in the last 12 months. I'm pleased to report tonight that our growth trend is holding strong. For the third straight year, we've added more than 3,000 new meters, and now we serve more than 217,500 meters. And just this year, we have invested $31 million in the distribution network that serves you. Because we operate efficiently, your cooperative's electricity remains a bargain. If your power was provided by almost anyone else in the state of Georgia, instead of Jackson EMC, you would be paying about 15% more for your electricity. That's money in your pocket. During the year, we've won nearly 15 megawatts of competitive industrial load. Companies that chose Jackson EMC because of the service we provide. By the way, that's enough electricity to power about 2,000 average homes for an entire year. 2 large loads opened their doors for business this year, the Georgia Poultry Lab and the Northeast Georgia Medical Center in Brazelton. In addition to new industrial customers, we're seeing residential construction pick up again, with right choice energy efficient homes going up in 2 multifamily communities and 15 single-family subdivisions. And for the first time, we've partnered with EMC Security to offer home buyers home automation that can control locks, thermostats, and lights from a smartphone, and even monitor activity inside the home. Growth continues to require expansion and improvement of our distribution network. We have completed construction of the Bramlett Shoals substation in Lawrenceville to provide additional capacity around the Sugarloaf Parkway extension. It relieves some of the demand on a nearby substation that had been serving 6,000 meters. We have also modernized South Jackson's Attica substation to improve reliability and upgraded more than 15 miles of line throughout our system. We have constructed more than 50 miles of new lines this year, but we repaired a whole lot more than that. If you remember, this past February, Jackson EMC was hit by an ice storm that caused the most widespread and extensive damage we've experienced in our nearly 80 years. More than 128,600 members lost their power. Our system was devastated, with 182 broken poles pulled down by falling trees and heavy ice on the lines. Our call for help received responses from 24 of our sister cooperatives. An additional 624 people joined Jackson EMC's crews and set to work in single-digit temperatures. With the scope of this storm, we felt fortunate to have everyone back on in just 4 days. We also feel fortunate that a FEMA federal disaster declaration makes us eligible for federal funds to help offset the cost of this damage. Technology made this year's storm unique. The smart meters we have installed reported 41,000 outages on their own, while 18,000 members used our automated phone system. Nearly as many used their computer or smartphone to report the outage. And while crews worked, members tracked restoration on our website and our mobile website, which recorded nearly 900,000 page views. This year, Jackson EMC responded to growing interest in another technology, solar energy. We signed on for a portion of the power from 2 large solar installations being developed in Jeff Davis County here in Georgia. And following the passage of EMC-supported solar legislation, we launched a new residential solar program to provide interested members with solar site surveys, financing, and rebates. As part of a not-for-profit cooperative, you as a member are eligible to receive a portion of the revenue left over at the end of the year after all the bills are paid, which we refer to as margins. Since your cooperative is in excellent financial condition, your board can return this money directly to you. Last December, eligible Jackson EMC members received $6 million in margin refunds. We are pleased to announce that in December of this year, we will mail $6.5 million in refunds to more than 219,900 members who received service in 1989, 1990, and or 2014. Thank you. Amen. With this refund, Jackson EMC will have returned $108 million to you, our members, since we were founded in 1938. As a close, please help me thank those people who have worked so hard to make this evening special. Our Jackson EMC employees who set up and staffed this event, the area FFA chapters who cooked the chicken dinners we all enjoyed, and our partner in education school, Benton Elementary, whose students created our table decorations. Please join me in thanking all of these. Ladies and gentlemen, your board of directors sincerely appreciate you coming this evening. Each of us is honored to play a part in providing the reliable, reasonably priced, high-quality electric service you have come to depend on. Thank you for your attention. That concludes my report. Thank you. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. And now please help me welcome our CEO and Jackson EMC President, Mr. Chip Jenkins. Chip.
Thank you. Great job. All right, these lights are impressive up here. I'm glad it's our electricity that we're using. And thank you all for coming tonight. We could not have asked for a better night to be on the grounds of Jackson EMC and listen to some gospel music and have some fellowship and do the business of your cooperative. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. You know, because you're here, that it's really important for each of you as members and owners of Jackson EMC to participate in the business of your cooperative in this way, in person. And the best way to start that is by being informed about what your cooperative is doing day in and day out and why we're doing it. Now, you've heard from our auditor tonight, and you've also just heard from our board chairman that Jackson EMC has been highly successful this year and highly successful over our 76 years. And we've also been very fiscally responsible with your money over that time. We're doing very well, and we know this, based on the outstanding marks you've given this cooperative through a variety of surveys and the feedback that we receive day in and day out from you, our members. And we're thankful for that feedback. But what we need to ask ourselves tonight is how we can continue being this successful and continue to meet and even exceed your needs in the years ahead. You know, that question is at the heart of a strategic planning process that is ongoing at your cooperative. It's a process that gathers ideas from our board, from our management, from employees at all levels of the organization, and from you, our members, through the feedback we receive from you. And during that process, we like to think about the cooperative and what made it great in the past so that we don't lose that connection. We like to look ahead to discuss what we want to become in the future. Now, I don't believe that any organization or any individual has ever achieved greatness without having a vision of what they wanted to become. Now, vision is something to work for. It's something to strive for. And it's a goal that you might not ever reach, but you become better just by trying to reach that goal. Now, my grandmother used to tell me, she said, Chip, if you'll reach for the stars, even if you fall short, you just might hang the moon. And I believe that even today for Jackson EMC. And that's why we have set a pretty audacious vision for ourselves. The vision we have for Jackson EMC is to be the best, forward-thinking, innovative energy supplier, providing a friendly and fulfilling work environment for our employees. Now, the first part of that vision to be the best, forward-thinking, innovative energy supplier is focused on you, our members, to provide you with the best possible service. That second part of our vision is focused on continuing to keep and attract these wonderful employees that we have at Jackson EMC. Those kind of people, if we can keep them and attract them, will go out of their way to serve you better. Now, visions are long-range things, so we also need to keep in mind today, and what do we think about ourselves today? What is our purpose? So we did some soul searching there. What exactly is our purpose? What is our mission? Beyond just making sure that you have reliable, affordable electricity. And we decided that our mission is pretty simple. Our mission is to exceed your expectations with reliable, courteous, and personalized service. We believe that's what you want from us, short and simple, and it's how we should operate each and every day. Now, there are companies out there that have set lofty goals for themselves and ended up sometimes in trouble because their drive to succeed led them to bend or even break some rules along the way, and we certainly don't want that to happen here at Jackson EMC. In the end, those companies failed because they didn't have values to guide them. We felt strongly about our values here at Jackson EMC and committed them to paper. We all have values. They're guides by which we live our lives, and they're what's important to us. So here are the 6 values that Jackson EMC believes is important and that guide our actions every day. First, we must focus on you, our members, and make decisions based on providing you with outstanding service, stewardship, and the highest level of integrity. Second, we have to measure our performance and be accountable to you. We need to make sure that we manage our cooperative efficiently and effectively every single day. Third, we must have an open and honest field of communication here that fosters teamwork and trust. Our employees, first and foremost, have to be able to communicate openly and honestly with each other. We must have open and honest conversations with you, like we're having tonight, about what your cooperative is doing, because that's the foundation of a cooperative. It's governed by its members, and it's why we're here doing the business of the cooperative this evening. Fourth, we have to have a safe, positive, family-oriented, rewarding work environment for our employees. Have you ever been in a business where you had to deal with an employee who was obviously unhappy or uninterested in their job? I'm sure that it was not a pleasant experience. One of the best ways that we know of to attract and keep qualified, dedicated employees is to provide them with that type of environment that I described earlier, because it allows them to serve you in the best way possible. And you, above all, know how important that is. Fifth, we must maintain a good reputation in the communities we serve, and not only have that good reputation, but be involved in those communities. Be out there and be visible, be active. We'll do that by working with local governments and chambers of commerce to bring new companies to town, to bring better jobs to our area. We'll do that by sponsoring community activities and events that benefit the lives of the members that we serve and create a higher quality of life in those communities. We'll do it by supporting organizations that provide services in those communities who are in desperate need of those services that we sponsor. And we'll continue to provide administrative support for the Jackson EMC Foundation. Now, that is a real jewel in our crown, and one that you should be particularly proud of, because it's a symbol of your generosity. it uses that small change that so many of you have elected to have your bill roundup to really change lives in our area. Those donations, that small bit of change that you have agreed to donate to the Operation Roundup, to the Jackson EMC Foundation, has added up in just 10 years to $10 million that has gone directly back out to our communities. And I'd like to hear a round of applause for that tonight. That is really, really special. Now, our final value is a spirit of cooperation. That spirit of cooperation helps us uphold the cooperative principles in all of our business dealings. We saw that spirit of cooperation during that devastating ice storm earlier this year, when so many of our sister cooperatives came to us and helped us in our time of need, like we have done with them in the past. Our cooperative efforts and that spirit of cooperation is also shown at Georgia EMC, our statewide organization. And it's shown in the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, our national trade association. They represent your needs, our members' needs, both at our state capital and in our nation's state capital, making sure that our politicians know who we are and know what our needs are. Those 6 values will ensure and guide your cooperative's management and our operations today and in the future. They'll keep us on track as we try to reach our vision. Now, the final piece of strategic planning, the final part of that process that we look at are the things that we need to improve around here. It's a continuous improvement process at Jackson EMC. We always want to get better and serve you in new and ever-inspiring ways. So we created a list of those things that we need to work on. And you can't do everything at once, so we had to narrow it down a bit. But what we came up with was a list of 3 major activities that we wanted to take on this year to improve your cooperative. One of those areas that we'll focus on is organizational effectiveness. We'll look at the structure of the cooperative, at how we're developing tomorrow's cooperative leaders, and at how we're staffed to ensure that the people we need are here and they're where we need them to serve you best. Another area we'll focus on is technology. It's an area of our business that is rapidly changing, and it can offer savings in both the time and money that we can pass directly to you. And it has the potential to offer new services that we want you to be looking for in the days ahead. The third and final area we'll work on is what it's going to take to be the best at what we do, to realize that vision. How can we create the best work environment? How can we offer the best service possible to our members? And each of you have a stake in that planning process because it affects the service that you receive from your cooperative now and in the future. Each year, we'll measure where we are, we'll check off the accomplishments that we've achieved, and we'll move on to the next set of things that we want to improve and make better for you, our members. And we'll keep doing that year after year until we achieve our vision, and it's going to be a very exciting trip, and I'm glad you're going to be along for the journey. Now, in conclusion, I've talked to you tonight about our mission, our vision, our values, our strategic plan, the initiatives that we've got going on. And I hope by talking about those things, you've gotten a better insight into what your cooperative stands for, what we're about, what we think is important, and what we're going to be working on to make things better for you. I want to thank you again for coming tonight and having some fellowship with us this evening. I hope you have a safe trip home, and I hope that you'll stay involved at every opportunity with your cooperative. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chip. Again, there's a couple of items that we need to take care of. One is election of directors. 3 directors on a rotating basis are elected each year, and part of that process is the appointment of a nominating committee to nominate candidates for the expiring 3-year term seats. For that purpose, I would like to call upon Ronnie Heelan to give the nominating committee's report.
The nominating committee of the Jackson Electric Membership Corporation met at the Cooperative Headquarters Office, Commerce Highway in Jefferson, Georgia, at 8:30 a.m. July 23, 2015. Those serving on the nominating committee were Mr. Steve Bates, Mr. Tim Booth, Mr. Quillen Butler, E.R. Heelan, Mrs. Howard McClure Jr., Mr. Clay McDaniel, Dr. Lou Penn, Mrs. Sherry Rogers, and Alicia Williams. In accordance with the bylaws of Jackson Electric Membership Corporation, we wish to place in nomination the following members for consideration by the membership at the meeting of the members of Jackson Electric Membership Corporation to be held on Thursday, September 17, 2015, and voted on at said meeting to serve for a 3-year term beginning on that date. From Banks County, Mr. John Mitchell. Jackson County, Mr. Bill Carpenter, and from Madison County, Mr. Rodney Chandler.
Thank you, Ronnie. There's one other way that a candidate can be nominated, and that is by a petition signed by a certain number of members. I can report to you that no petition to make nominations in that manner has been filed with the cooperative. Therefore, these candidates, John Mitchell, Bill Carpenter, and Rodney Chandler, are running without opposition, and therefore it would be in order that these candidates be elected by acclamation. Do I have a motion to that effect? Motion over here. Second. Second over there. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and these gentlemen are elected for a 3-year term. You may have noticed on the agenda this year that there was another item that's not ordinarily brought before you, but that is the amendment to the bylaws. The bylaws are the basic governance documents that governs the election of directors and many other aspects of the cooperative's operation. It is necessary for a bylaw affecting the election of directors that you, the members, vote on that. And you were handed, I believe, when you came in, a synopsis of those bylaws. They were also posted on the website, so you've had ample opportunity to look at those, but in the interest of making sure that everyone is clear on those, I'd like to call upon my partner, Steve Miner, to come up. Steve was involved, along with Mike McCleary, and in a very detailed process and diligent process by the board to advance and consider these bylaws, and Steve will explain the rationale for the proposed changes by the board and what they are. Steve?
Thank you, Dick. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of this meeting. As Dick mentioned, the notice of the meeting that was delivered to all members contained a notice of a recommended revision to Jackson EMC's bylaws. The recommendations were also posted on the website and were available to you tonight at this meeting. These recommendations are the result of an extensive review and assessment by your board of directors of the cooperative's existing director election process, which has remained essentially the same since 1938 when the cooperative was formed. During this same period of time, Jackson EMC has grown from a small cooperative of approximately 100 rural farm community or families to a large cooperative serving over 180,000 highly diverse individuals, organizations, and corporations. I would like to tell you a little bit about the process that your directors use to come by the recommendations which they want you to consider tonight. First, they started with a survey of 11 similarly situated cooperatives to see how other co-ops were handling director elections. The board then began a process of assessing how those voting methods utilized at these co-ops might help Jackson EMC's board achieve 5 principal objectives. The first objective was a desire to increase member communication. Voting in director elections is the most effective way for members to communicate their desires to the board and ultimately to impact the cooperative's operation and policy. It is what makes a co-op, and it sets us apart from investor-owned utilities like Georgia Power. The second objective was to ensure continued transparency. Our survey indicated that members feel the most comfortable with voting methods where they have the opportunity to witness the whole process, from the membership verification process to the delivery of the ballot, and ultimately watching the ballot get placed in a secure ballot box. The third objective was to make it more convenient for Jackson EMC's members to vote. While the board wants to continue to encourage each of you to attend the annual meeting, we recognize that it's not always possible to attend the annual meeting. The fourth objective was to maintain appropriate control over the distribution and receipt of the ballots. The board recognizes that this objective sometimes conflicts with a third objective, i.e. convenience, so they work diligently to find the best way to balance these two objectives. And finally, the fifth objective that the board considered when reviewing these options was the voting process. They wanted it to remain cost-effective. I can tell you from personal experience, I'm a consumer of Georgia Power, and my power bills are a lot higher than your power bills. Your board is focused on maintaining not only safe and reliable power, but ensuring that they provide it at the most effective cost possible. So, after analyzing each of these various voting methods with these objectives in mind, the board ultimately concluded that the best option for Jackson EMC was to implement an early voting period. This method was not only successfully used by several other co-ops in our survey, but it is also a method that's used by state, local, and federal elections. Under this proposal, the bylaws would be amended to permit members to register in person at specified locations during a 5-day period prior to the annual meeting. The registration process for early voting will be essentially the same as that was used at this annual meeting, only you will be able to vote in multiple, more convenient locations during an extended period of time. Voting will still be offered at this annual meeting. Providing for the early voting period entailed a number of changes to the bylaws, all of which are described in the notice that you received and are specifically itemized on the co-op's website. That completes my summary of the bylaw amendment proposal. I'll now ask Dick Tysinger to handle the discussion and voting on the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. First of all, let me talk, this is a motion made by the board. We will get a second over here. And now the question is on the floor. The question is whether or not to vote to approve the bylaws pursuant to the resolution prepared by the board and presented and explained by Steve. Because the cooperative principles say that only members can vote, the voting members who registered have their armbands. So only the folks that have the armbands can vote on this resolution. So with that, are there any questions, now that it's on the floor, are there any questions or comments that you might want to present? I don't see anyone coming to the podium to do that, so we'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution proposed by the Board of Directors to amend the bylaws as explained, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. And with that, there's no further items to be considered in the business meeting, and we will adjourn the meeting and proceed to the prize drawing. Thank you for your attendance.